welcome to this week's edition of Twins Ticket. We'll be discussing your first place Minnesota Twins. What's up? This is Tom Froming. Again, welcome to Twins Ticket, the live stream. This show is going to move around a little bit, folks. All off season, it was very regular on Wednesdays, but the show is going to move around a bit in season. And Monday night is the night that worked out. The Twins are off. The entire minor league system is off. So we're going to talk tonight instead. And the topics of discussion I have brought are the pitching staff in general, but also specifically the bullpen. We're going to discuss the bullpen pecking order so far. It's only been 16 games, but I do feel like if you're going to small sample pick anything, that the bullpen makes the most sense because that's the area where you're really going to see a lot of, I don't want to say knee-jerk reactions, but you're going to see a lot of movement much quicker in the bullpen than you would in other areas of the team. A lot of bigger decisions are going to be made earlier on. Just the fact that Taylor Rogers was traded, right up to opening day and really didn't have a chance to talk about that and how Emilio Pagan fit in. It was just rolling right into the daily recaps, essentially, as that was going on. So, I apologize for anybody. This was very late notice, but hopefully, I'm going to keep it going pretty quick. We're also going to talk about the minor league leaderboard for the Twins system. So if you happen to be watching this on replay, stick around. We're going to keep it moving, going to cover a lot of ground. Zachary, throwing out the way this pitching staff is going, league average offense means 90-plus wins. That's the way it's looking for sure. It's been amazing. And I've tried to really always pivot that focus back to the pitching. And that's why this 4-game win streak has happened. Really, the pitching has held it together. And, it's usually been the rotation, but the bullpen's had some bright spots too the last couple games. It's been really encouraging. Obviously, offense is down across the league. So that means, as hopefully the Twins offense starts to get rolling, probably other teams will pick it up too. So this pitching staff will be challenged, I'm sure, more than they have been. But especially Dylan Bundy. Who saw this coming? Just very impressive. Should we be worried about Correa? I don't think so. I'll field some questions first and we'll get into the pitching thing. But I just want to kind of make sure to greet everybody as they come in. As you can see on the screen here, there's a bit of a delay, but your comments will come up in the live chat, and we'll address some of those before I kind of go into my topic here. I'm not concerned about Correa. I'm not concerned about his performance. I'll say that. I'm not concerned about his performance. Remember, it's only been 16 games this year. I'm weirded out that he didn't play at all yesterday. Rocco was working with a bit of a short bench with the two catchers being banged up. I thought it was kind of weird with the off day today that Correa was off again, not in the starting lineup. And then just with an abundance of opportunities to pinch hit him, he didn't go to Correa, even though there was a lot of great opportunities to bring him off the bench to pitch hit him. So, I haven't seen any reports that there's any reason to be concerned about his injuries. Last year he was very healthy, but he does have a bit of an injury history. That's Carlos Correa we're talking about. So I am curious. I really will feel better to see him in the lineup tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. We had a Jake Petrichka comment. For those of you who don't know, he's from Southern Minnesota. I think, if he pitches well, there's a chance he can get back. He's got to take care of business. That's always the thing. The one thing about the Twins not really investing a ton in their bullpen is, it's an area of opportunity. If you're gonna play well, usually they're gonna find a spot for you. But obviously there are some guys that would object to that point that I just made. Nick Anderson, but I think if Jake Petrichka takes care of business, he'll get some looks. Do I think that they move Sano? I think it's possible they may move on from Sano. I don't. If you're thinking he's getting traded, he's not gonna have any trade value, especially right now. I think there's been a lot. I don't really want to talk that much about Miguel Sano. Everybody's talking about Miguel Sano, I think, more than we really need to. Obviously he's not off to a good start. Now Alex Kirilloff starting a rehab assignment. That was some news late on Sunday that came through after I posted the game recap. In case you missed it, Alex Kirilloff, the wrist is healthy enough for him to be starting a rehab assignment. So that's huge news. Because I really think, even though I was the last live stream we did, I was kind of throwing out there like, hey, why don't they give Luis Arraez a look at first base? So I liked that idea. I think that's interesting. I do think the guy who is the most likely to kind of really truly replace Miguel Sano at first base on a regular kind of full-time basis is Alex Kirilloff. So, just regardless of that conversation, excited that Alex is healthy enough to start swinging a bat in competitive at bats again. But that sort of ties in like, hey, he may be a solution to get Miguel Sano not playing every day. That's my biggest thing. Like, I think we're a ways away from him potentially being cut, I think, which is a lot of people want to see that. But I don't think they don't need to be playing him every single day. It's Miguel Sano we were just talking about. Do I think the Twins will end up having an excellent offensive team or just above league average? I would think, I think they were they like 10th or 11th last year? That kind of seems like, where I would project them to end up still. Somewhere around there. Again, everybody's really fixated on Miguel Sano. Miranda's not really playing very well. As Josiah mentions, he's not really lighting it up. So it's not like Miranda's really pushing the issue. I don't think it's not really reason for concern that Miranda's off to a slow start, but he's not really pushing the issue as far as that goes. And, something I wanted to, not to get off on a tangent, but something I wanted to point out in this conversation of like, let's get rid of Miguel Sano and bring up some prospects. Bobby Witt Jr. and Julio Rodriguez are consensus top 3 overall prospects in baseball. And both those guys are really struggling out the gate with their teams. The Twins don't have anybody in anywhere near that stratosphere of prospect to those two guys. So, as bad as Miguel Sano is, you can't really guarantee anybody you're going to call up is going to give you much more. Now, I think we can expect Luis Arraez to give you much more. I think we can expect a healthy Alex Kirilloff to give you some more, at least. And maybe he won't be 100% healthy, but I would like to definitely not see – I don't want to see Miguel Sano playing literally every day. That's kind of the thing. Let's start somewhere, So – we got a Royce Lewis question. Do I think he'll be on the Twins in 2022? It's going to depend. He's not in control of that. I'll put it that way. No matter how well Royce plays, I don't think there's probably going to be an opportunity for him as long as everybody above him stays healthy and takes care of business. But let's say Alex Kirilloff, can't stay healthy all year and Trevor Larnach goes back into a slump. And maybe Luis Arraez is playing for Royce Lewis is going to be playing every day. So you have to sort of go through this process of finding a scenario in which somehow there is literally every day at bats for Royce Lewis basically on the Twins. And that's the scenario in which I can see him being on the Twins in 2022. Now that conversation might change a lot after the trade deadline. 8-8 start. We don't, I don't want to jump out, enjoy things while they're happening is what I would say. Enjoy this. Let's not assume they're going to be selling. So I don't want to get into that, but that's probably Royce's best pathway to getting on the Twins is if they're sellers and someone gets traded more toward the deadline. But yeah, Royce has been amazing. Absolutely. Oh, and yeah, Zachary throws out that Spencer Torkelson's been struggling too. That doesn't mean that every prospect is going to struggle, but what can you do? All right, let's jump into what I wanted to discuss. Mainly, just kind of wanted to talk about the bullpen in general, but obviously the entire pitching staff kind of plays into this. So what I've got here is a spreadsheet that just kind of shows, here's the way the pitching staff is looking right now. The guys in the 10-day IL and the guys in the 60-day IL. If you missed it, again, a lot happened on Sunday, I feel like. John Romero went to the 10-day IL. He's a guy who looked pretty good, in limited samples. He was never going to really pitch his way into the back end of the bullpen picture, but, encouraging to see. Unfortunately, he's on the injured list. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Jorge Alcala was transferred to the 60-day IL, which is such a buzzkill because I really think, especially with Rogers gone, he was going to be a really important piece to this bullpen. Really opens up some questions. So I'm sure a lot of people are raising their eyebrows at how I have this relief pitchers ranking. I'm going to get to that in a sec. But just real quick, the starting pitchers, I have these in the order in which that they are going in. Not necessarily like this is the top guy, this is the set. This is literally the order they're going. And I only have Josh Winder penciled in here because this should be Sonny Gray, but he's on the 10-day IL. I'm not sure what they're going to do, if they're going to let Winder start while Sonny Gray's out. Or what they're going to do, I'm not sure, but this is just sort of with the 28-man roster still for the rest of this week. This is how the rotation is ordered out, and I thought maybe it made more sense to pencil Winder in there than in the bullpen. Now, how the heck do I have Joe Smith at the top of the bullpen pecking order depth chart? This is ordered by Fangraphs keeps a tally on this leverage index, and I like to look at this column. There's a lot of different ones. So there's just your overall leverage index, your leverage index at the start of innings, your leverage index when you exit games. But I like this column, which is the leverage index when you've entered a game. So if you want to kind of get a good vibe of who the manager is using in the highest leverage situations, this is, I think, the best way to look at it. Because if you look at the overall leverage index, some guys pitch their way into higher leverage. And actually, this is a great example. I didn't even realize this. Because Emilio Pagan, is entering the game average leverage index is 1.65. You don't really need to know what that means. Just know that his overall leverage index is 2.95 because he's pitched himself into even more higher leverage situations than he's been brought into. So that's kind of, I like that this cuts that out. So if you were wondering how I have this ranked, it's by the guys in the active roster ranked by that entering the game leverage index. And Joe Smith and I'm not shocked at all by this because Joe Smith has come in with runners on so often in huge situations. Yeah, it's been in the middle of games instead of in the end of games usually, aside from yesterday. But yeah, Joe Smith is pitching the highest leverage situation so far of this bullpen. I don't expect Joe Smith to close out games. I think he'll kind of continue this role of more often being maybe the first guy out of the bullpen, coming in to try to get some ground balls with runners on base. And then Emilio Pagan is second, then Tyler Duffy, Yohan Duran, Caleb Thielbar, Danny Colomb, Griffin Jacks, and Cody Stashak. Again, those are the guys in the active roster. And again, we're going to be trimming down from the 28 to the 26-man roster soon. So keep that in mind as well. But I think, if we want to kind of switch gears into who I think are who's the closer? Let's just go there. I think Emilio Pagan, we saw that this week too. I think Emilio Pagan is the team's closer. I think especially with Jorge Alcala out, that's a little bit more clear. And with Caleb Thielbar struggling as well. Not to say that Caleb Thielbar really was like a logical, optimal closer choice, but he is the best left-handed pitcher, at least at the moment, you could say, in this bullpen. He's off to a poor start, as is Tyler Duffy. So that really, in addition to Taylor Rogers being traded, Jorge Alcala being out, Duffy and Thielbar not pitching well really puts this bullpen into a state of flux, and it makes it very difficult for Rocco Baldelli to, as good as Yohan Duran is, and he's been great, and obviously his stuff is absolutely phenomenal. I put his stuff up against any reliever in baseball pretty much. He's still very incredibly inexperienced. It's a guy who has very little even AAA time, let alone big league time. Not to say that I don't think he can handle big situations, but I think you'd rather ease him in more before you really put games in his hands. And I know he yesterday pitched great in high leverage situations. Absolutely adore what we're seeing out of Johan Duran. I don't want to kind of throw shade at him in any manner. Clearly has, God tier stuff when compared to Tyler Duffy and Caleb Thielbar, most definitely. But those guys, and I tried to make this point when Duffy had that save opportunity and he blew it. Look at how things are. Look at how the bullpen is. You're not going to get away from Tyler Duffy never pitching in big situations at all. There's just not enough bullpen for the Twins to. Now, I'm not saying he should be closing games, but no matter how you move things around, I mean, unless you're gonna, Cody Stashak might pitch his way up. He's a guy who missed a lot of time, didn't look good last year. But if you look at his overall numbers, he's been a good reliever. Was just reactivated from the injured list, so that's why I think part of why he's down at the bottom here. He could pitch his way up, definitely. And again, this bullpen picture is the thing that really is going to move around the most early on. Managers don't really wait around like they do like a Sano. You might be a little more patient with a guy in your starting lineup, in your starting rotation even, than you're going to be with a guy in your bullpen. So this is going to be kind of in flux. Danny Coulombe is looking pretty good, especially in terms of his stuff. Maybe he can move up as well. And then, of course, there's some guys in the 40-man. There's some guys in AAA, not in the 40-man, who could pitch their way into the picture as well if, a Thielbar keeps struggling, a Duffy keeps struggling, whatever. Griffin Jax is also kind of looking much, much better in relief. Maybe, again, not a guy that you're like going to elevate into a closing situation. But just kind of wanted to go through that and say, this is what we're looking at with the bullpen right now. And kind of take a snapshot of where we're at the moment. Again, this stuff's going to move around. But yeah, Joe Smith, I also just wanted to call out that this guy's been pitching in the highest leverage situations basically for the team and just doing a tremendous job so far. No, Josh Winder did not get hurt. I have him up in the rotation in Sonny Gray's spot. Somebody to ask that. So the next topic of discussion I wanted to touch on with this pitching staff is on May 1st, which is Sunday, we are going to scale back down to a 26-man roster. So there's going to be 2 fewer roster spots to work with. Now, right now, at the moment, the Twins have 3 catchers on the active roster. So hopefully Jeffers and Gary Sanchez get healthy enough to where Godoy is not needed on the active roster. And basically him going down is one of those 2 guys, one of the 2 pieces subtracted from the roster. And then the other one is going to be somebody here. Cody Stashak, I actually had to look this up because, it feels like he's been around for a little while. He actually has 2 option years left. So he can go back down to the minors without being subject to waivers. So it's possible maybe he goes down. I would think probably the most likely, though, is Griffin Jax. And it could be Josh Winder. It could be they just keep all these bullpen guys and Josh Winder goes down. Chances are good, though, between now and Sunday. The way major league teams work now, someone's probably going to get hurt and go on the injured list. That just seems like the way things go. But, without the expanded roster, I'm not sure they want to keep Josh Winder, off of a schedule. He's pitched well, basically saved the game yesterday, pitching 4 innings of 1-run ball in relief of Chris Archer. So I don't want to make it sound like he's not a valuable piece to the big club. But I do think, if you're thinking about rotation depth, guys having innings, I think it would be valuable to have him stretched out in AAA. Devin Smeltzer is pitching very well. So that kind of maybe makes you feel a little bit more secure that, oh, hey, if we need, not to say that you were going to bump anybody from the rotation for Smeltzer, but if you had like an emergency situation where a starter goes down, you have a guy in the minor leagues who has some major league experience. You can call him up, plug him in Devin Smeltzer. So maybe that will actually help Josh Winder stay on the big club. I could see, I'm not saying it's a slam dunk that he's going to go back down once the rosters expand, or that it's necessarily messing up his development, that he's not on his regular starter, routine. I think, he's probably going to be learning more just hanging out in the big leagues, even when he's not pitching, seeing guys like Dylan Bundy and Chris Archer and Chris Paddock and Sonny Gray and all Joe Smith going about their business and how they take care of stuff. So it'll be very interesting. I'm curious to see how they play that. But again, I think I hesitate to really analyze it too much, even though it's at the end of this week. It's really not that far out, but so much can, as we learned on Sunday, so much can change in such a short amount of time that I think it's a little early to be analyzing that. But again, if you're kind of showing up in the live stream a little late, how the heck do I have this all laid out here? I just penciled into Josh Winder into the spot that Sonny Gray was in, and this isn't like a ranking. This is literally just how the rotation is literally ordered right now. And then this is based off of their the leverage index when the relievers are entering a game. Just kind of wanted to put that together so we kind of get an idea of how things are using. All right. Somebody says, let's actually pull that up. I actually don't know this. This isn't like let me come in and defend Rocco, but I want to pull up basically the innings from starting pitchers. I don't think I can get innings per start on here. That would be ideal. I don't think I can pull that up. Because I know some teams, especially with the weather, haven't pitched as many as others. But just to illustrate, a lot of teams are not having their starters throw a lot. I mean, that's been a thing for a couple of years now. We all know that. But especially with these early expanded rosters, I think teams really take advantage of those guys too. And you can see, this isn't, some of the teams have pitched more games. Some of the teams have pitched fewer games. But the Twins right now are 15th, tied for 14th in the league in innings pitched by their starting pitchers. Just throwing that out. They're basically right in the league average. I know that it seems ridiculous if you're a longtime baseball fan. Really, even 15, 20 years ago, it seems kind of silly how short guys are going. But, it's not like the Twins are doing anything all that different than the rest of the league in that regard. And the Mets are the top team because they have like $1 billion rotation. I'm sure Oakland doesn't have any money in their rotation. So it's not like that's the main factor. But the Twins are definitely on the probably more careful side, I would say. I think that's definitely something you can say about Rocco, that he's careful. He manages to the 162 game season. Absolutely would agree with that totally. And sometimes that's kind of frustrating. But hopefully it works out for us in the long run. All right. Yeah, Joe Smith, he's got some nasty stuff. Doesn't throw hard at all, but he's got some good stuff. And dude's been around forever. The current active leader in games pitched is Joe Smith. All right. So the other thing I wanted to touch on, and just go over it. I actually haven't gone over these yet either, so we'll be learning some things together. But hopefully none of these will be a surprise since we're talking about the minor leagues on a nightly basis. We're going to go through some of these leaders in the system. This is a really nice feature on Fangraphs that you can find where if you can go to prospects and then like the board, and then if you click over to MILB leader stats only, you can actually sort this by an organization. So we have all of the Twins minor leaguers pulled up here, and this is by qualified starters. So there may be some guys who are playing regularly who aren't qualified, but this is 29 guys across the 4 affiliates. So pretty much most anybody is playing every day. And we're going to take a look at some of these numbers. Top guy in terms of walk percentage. Wow, Emmanuel Rodriguez, 19 years old in Fort Myers, and he's leading the system with 25% of his plate appearances being walks. That's absolutely insane. Andrew Bechtold is second, another guy at 20+% walk rate. He's catching some this year. Drafted as a third baseman, played a lot of first base as well. Now he's catching, which is kind of crazy to just start catching in Double-A essentially. Some other names on here. Will Holland is one guy I should make a point to get some highlights of him because he has not been featured in any of the daily recaps yet, and he is playing well. He has an 18.4 walk rate. Guys, let's look at the good side here. Guys who are not striking out. Michael Hellman, who's hitting for power. We see here a 554 slugging percentage and a 932 OPS in AA. He's only striking out 9.1% of the time. This is a guy who's played some infield and some outfield. Jermaine Palacios is playing all over the infield for St. Paul. He might get a shot with the Twins at some point if he's another guy where everything has to kind of work out, where there's some injuries. But he's right at AAA. He's right there. Finally, after all those years, he's right on the doorstep. Again, playing all over the infield. So again, not a guy who's really going to be an obvious choice. Maybe like a Drew Maggi type who gets called up in an emergency situation when they don't necessarily want to turn to a prospect. No surprise, Austin Martin's not striking out very much. He's a guy who takes great at-bats. Steer is hitting for another guy with a 500-plus slugging percentage, striking out in less than 20% of his plate appearances. So that's good to see. And then Miranda is a little higher than usual for him, 17.3, but clearly still in the bottom 5 in the organization, not striking out very often. All right, so batting average, no surprise here. Christian Encarnacion Strand hitting 426 still. Kyler Fedko is a guy who I feel like I'm mentioning on a nightly basis for the Mighty Muscles. Dennis Ortega is a guy who came from another organization who's catching in AA. I don't know a ton about him, but he's off to a tremendous start, as you can see from his numbers. Where did he come from? He was with the Cardinals. So he actually kind of split time, or he spent most of the year last year, in AAA. So it makes sense that he's handling AA so well right now. So we could see him moving up, certainly to the Saints at some point if he continues to play well. So those are kind of the top guys there. Anthony Prado, a guy you guys probably talking about him every night. He's been just amazing. OBP, since Emmanuel Rodriguez was so high in the walks, that's not surprising at all that he's got a 469 on base percentage. And again, Will Holland, just want to make sure to call him out again, that he's way up here. Seth Gray also up above 400. Slugging Encarnacion Strand at 770. Slugging 770. Just absolutely insane. He's got some batted ball luck for sure. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But he's crushing the ball. So it's like, if you're hitting the ball hard, you're kind of making your own luck. You know what I mean? Emmanuel Rodriguez, in addition to taking walks and getting on base, he's also just blistering the ball. He's got a great chance. If you're looking for someone to predict who is going to be like the number one Twins prospect in 2024, Manuel Rodriguez is probably a good chance to be doing that. I think he'll probably stay down. I mean, if he does this, all bets are off, but he'll probably at least start that year in the minor leagues, I'd imagine. And Royce, Royce has been pretty high on all these as well. He got clearly off to a great start in AAA, especially with how much he was struggling in AA last we saw him in the regular season. We'll get to pitching in a second, Jordan. Woods Richardson is doing real well. He's pitching great. So yeah, Royce, a 291 OBP with a 358 slugging in AA in 2019. Last we saw him a 649 OPS. I understand a lot of people kind of lost a lot of faith. I was really hanging on still because I didn't want to ding him he was extremely young for the level back then, keep in mind. I didn't want to ding him for just being injured, but nobody could have expected this. I mean, I figured maybe we'd see this in August. By then he would get like his feet under him and we'd be seeing stuff like this. I figured it'd be ugly early, pardon me, but it's so refreshing how good Royce has been. Very fun to see him playing so well. And then I did want to mention BABIP. And again, Christian Encarnacion Strand. I don't think the 553 BABIP is going to stick, you guys. I don't think that's going to stick. But again, he's crushing the ball. He's making a lot of luck for himself. He's a guy who hustles a lot too, so he's going to beat out. And he's got better speed than I think you would imagine for a guy his size. But I wanted to bring up BABIP too to look on the other side. Whose BABIPs are crazy low. You can't always expect this stuff to normalize. But I think if we're kind of looking for some hope on some guys, Matt Wallner is off to a horrendous start in his first shot at AA. I haven't, been able to see every at bat, but there's maybe some hope here that he's got a 182 BABIP. That he's not helping himself, striking out 44.4% of the time. That's for sure. But maybe there's some hope that some more balls fall in. He can get this under wrap and turn some things around. Rice is about to be hit by the random drug test. They might get Encarnacion Strand with that too. They might be, random. We noticed you had a 700 slugging percentage. And qualified is a little too low. That's only going to give us 9 guys. Let's maybe bump this down to 10. So you can see too, this is a really fun tool to check out. Again, we're at Fangraphs. They have an MILB leaderboard where you can sort by org. You can also sort by level. So if you're wondering oh man, is Christian Encarnacion Strand the best hitter in A ball this year? You can even do that. So this is a super handy thing they have at Fangraphs. All right, so let's just look at the guys who have 10 plus innings. Okay, that gives us 17. That's an all right sample. And actually, speaking of Woods Richardson, he is actually leading the organization on the minor league side in innings so far. So that's great. Not getting a ton of strikeouts, but he's pitching very well. He's got a 0.00 ERA, so I would say that's pretty good. Let's take a look at some of these. I really like when it's available to me like this. K percentage, walk percentage, K minus walk percentage. So John Stankiewicz is a guy who is pitching real well for Fort Myers. He had an 11 strikeout game the other day. Looking at some of these are ridiculous. Tyler Visa, he's another guy that was in another org. So yeah, he's 27 and in AA. So that kind of tells you, he probably belongs in AAA. He's a guy who's been in AAA in the Phillies organization in the past. So he's kind of pitching in a level that he doesn't really belong in. We'll put it that way. So maybe that's why he's putting up some insane numbers. Brent Hedrick, another guy with a 40+% strikeout percent. That's just insane. And Marco Raya, guy who made his minor league debut this year. Any news on Cantorino? Yeah, he pitched yesterday, right? Yeah, that was yesterday. 3 perfect innings, 3 strikeouts, hit 97. His first couple outings weren't as good. He's on a very limited pitch count, innings count. He's only pitching basically 3 innings a game if he gets that far. So he's going to get ramped up very slowly, but he's looking good, looking good. Yeah, Marco Raya making his professional debut, only 19 years old, looking really good. He's throwing hard as well. I think he topped out at 97. It might have been 96 the other day. I don't remember. He's throwing hard either way. David Fessa threw 98 something the other day for Fort Myers. So he's definitely got to get on your radar as well. Guys striking out a lot of guys. Walk percentage, Aaron Rozek from Burnsville, who's another guy who's probably level too low. He's in high A with Cedar Rapids. Probably, if he keeps pitching this way, he'll be up in AA before too long in some sort of a role. Maybe not as a starter. We'll see. Kind of rooting. Like to see those guys move too when they're pitching well, kind of old for their level. Get those guys moving up. That's the thing too. Marco Raya, 19 years old. He's only walked 2.6% of the batters that he's faced as well. Some of these young guys who are more throwers than pitchers, you see that 35.9 strikeout, but then it's coming with like a 18% walk rate or whatever. Not Marco Raya. He's looking unbelievably good. And, a guy who had a ton of prospect steam heading into this year. So very exciting to see him pitching well. You can see some of the other names there. But K minus walk percentage. So if you take their strikeout percentage minus their walk percentage, there's another look. It's a lot of the same suspects we saw from earlier. This is going to correlate pretty well to guys who are pitching well. You can see this is the ERA column. None of these guys has much of an ERA. But yeah, going there, Woods Richardson is the only guy with a 0. in 16 2/3 innings. So good on him. He's pitching great. That's coming with a 0.54 whip as well. Maybe he's getting some batted ball luck, but I'm sure he's creating some of his own luck as well, a 128 BABIP. So there's kind of a look. Again, Devin Smeltzer, I mentioned him when talking about the big club. He has a 1.29 ERA in 14 innings with St. Paul. So, again, not a guy you're going to really make room for, of course, on the big league roster, but I think it does kind of make them feel a little bit more secure that he's pitching well down there. Because as you can see, a lot of the other AAA guys aren't really performing that well. Not that you really want to turn to any of these guys if you're at the big club. But Cole Sands, really, I mean, he got off to a pretty good start of his first start or two, and then he's really struggled. He actually pitched out of the bullpen his most recent appearance and got shelled. So yeah, not great. Actually, let's pull that up. These guys pitched extremely well. 2.46 ERA in AA last year. Kind of a bummer. So yeah, he had two good starts, and then a terrible start, and then a terrible outing out of relief. Is how it's gone so far. It's kind of unfortunate to see that. All right. Here's where we get dangerous. Shifting from my pre-topic to going through some notes here. So that was all I had to bring. So let me go through some of the chat. I'll go through as quick as I can. I'm not going to get to everybody, but thanks for hanging out. Again, if you missed the intro, this week on Wednesday, which is usually when the live streams are, the Twins are playing a night game. Decided that it really didn't make sense for me to do a live stream ever while the Twins were playing. Figure people got better things to watch. And then Thursday is just not going to work out for me this week. So I figured, tonight, no Twins, no minor leagues, no nothing going on. It's kind of the perfect night just to sort of hang out, talk about some topics that had been on my mind. This was a bunch of stuff that I was kind of planning on looking at anyway. So it kind of clicked like, hey, I'll just do a live stream and we'll kind of go through this stuff together. There we go. Yeah, that's what we're going to hope for out of Duffy. Ansley points out that Duffy was off to a rough start last year too and came around nicely. And he's got a big. I'm not a big Tyler Duffy guy, to be honest, but he's got a long track record of being a solid reliever, a solid bullpen guy. There's not a lot of guys that have pitched as well as he has over the last handful of years. Most that aren't like a closer. Most of the guys that are kind of more setup guys are really fluctuate. I mean, Emilio Pagan is kind of a really good example of that, actually. He's had some really good years. He's had some really unsteady years because sometimes he can give up a lot of home runs. That's Emilio Pagan. It's another reason why I don't love the idea of them fully committing to him as their closer. Like, I like that they're going to play matchups. I just really wish Jorge Alcala was healthy. Oh, that sucks. That's a really big blow, and obviously Rogers being gone. It's not going to be easy to manage this bullpen. Clearly, Duran kind of showing himself to be ready to contribute is massive. This is the question, isn't it? We're all sitting around here. This is what we were wondering all offseason too. Man, the rotation's great, but we can't figure out who's going to win the Cy Young. That's our biggest problem. All these guys, like, only one guy can win it. Who are they going to give it to? I don't know. Ooh, I mean, I get, like, you want to say if he's that type of a player, but like Juan Soto, wasn't Juan Soto like almost in big leagues by the time he was 19? Let's see. He debuted he was 19 years and 207 days old. Juan Soto was in the big leagues. Man, that's crazy. Wow. Insane. And our guy is so he's got about 150 days, Emmanuel Rodriguez, before he's got to be in the big leagues. I guess it's possible. I'm not going to put anything by him at this point. A guy who didn't really draw. He did draw a fair amount of walks, but he struck out way too much. He had twice as many strikeouts as walks last year, and now he's about even. That's just an insane development for a guy facing pitching that's better than he's ever seen in his life, too, oh, by the way. So I don't mean to pump the brakes on Emmanuel Rodriguez too hard. I'm very excited about him. But Juan Soto, man, he might be the best player in baseball right now. That's tough. Austin Martin, his defense at shortstop has been poor. But I've actually really liked the way he's looked at second base. They've let him play some second for the first time ever in his minor league career. I think he looks really good there. He's always looked pretty capable in the outfield. So I think he's going to find a defensive home. It's just not going to be shortstop. I really don't think he's going to play shortstop. And that's okay. And he played 2 games at shortstop in college. So it was always, I think, a very difficult ask of him to be playing shortstop anyway. He has not hitting for power. Austin Martin is not hitting for power again, which is a little concern to me, but he does hit the ball hard. He's not a guy that's really looking to lift and drive the ball. He's more of a singles hitter, and we don't have access to this, but I bet you his exit velocities are tremendous. He hits the ball well, squares it up, but just doesn't hit it hard in the air very often. We already talked about Woods Richardson. I should be wrapping up here. Sorry I can't get to all these. Thank you all for hanging out. These are always a lot of fun. Sometimes it can be kind of a little boring to be here, like grinding away, chopping up these videos, quietly cutting everything together, because the voiceover on the daily recaps only takes a few minutes. I almost always do those in one take. And I know a lot of you are nodding like, yeah, we know, Tom. We know you only do them in one take. It's pretty much every night I probably have something that's wrong in them. But just to get things out, I got to do that. So that's like the biggest, most of my time on those is just spent quietly kind of recording things and chopping them up and putting them in and piecing things together. So it's nice to hang out and bounce some ideas around with you guys. Cade Povich. Yeah, he's another guy. I'm actually working on an updated prospect ranking for the guy, so I didn't have any information on really coming into this year. Not much. So the guys that are moving up are Povich, Raya, and Encarnacion Strand are really the 3 biggest movers. Yeah, I like Cade Povich a lot too. It was really fun to see him finally pitching for Cedar Rapids. Lefty with, I really like his delivery. Looks very athletic. Throws hard. Yeah, I like Cade Povich a lot. I think they're going to definitely continue to develop him as a starter. Pretty much everybody ends up in the bullpen. just the way it is, but he's got a shot for sure. And I think at least through his minor league career, he's a guy who's going to stick. Ronnie Henriquez, after the trade, he came over from Texas in the Garver trade. For those of you who may not remember, I did look at some of his stuff when he pitched in Double-A last year, and thought he looked interesting, and he looked really great. He threw, I think, 3 perfect innings in his debut with the Saints, which was also his Triple-A debut, and just looked good. He's got 3 pitches. Not a big guy, so I have some, I'm interested to see how hitters pick up the ball from him. Some short guys don't seem to have any problem. Like Marcus Stroman is not a tall guy at all. Jose Barrios wasn't super tall either. So it's not like that's like a ding on him, but that's just sort of something I'm interested to see how that develops. Yeah, Buxton. My gosh, insane. All right. So Martin is Nick Madrigal. I I'm like the low, and I don't want to say that I'm down on Austin Martin, but I don't think anybody else has Austin Martin as their third prospect in the system. So I'm kind of the wrong guy to ask about Austin Martin on. But I do see, like, I think people are projecting out maybe like a swing change, or that he's going to develop some more power or get more comfortable with some more power. Like I said, I see it like that he's impacting the ball. He hits the ball hard. But I'm kind of like, man, I would like to see, some slugging in the minor leagues before I kind of get excited about it. And I think the people that really are excited about Martin see him as a guy who can hit like 20 plus homers a year. And I will say, if he's that guy, he should be number one. I'm wrong. And Nick Madrigal, has no power. He's a good hitter, but he has no power. I think there's a better chance that Austin Martin is not that, hopefully. What pieces would you be willing to give up for a good bullpen arm? The thing that sucks is you have to give what other teams want, and I think other teams want pitching. I think that's what we learned more than anything this offseason. It kind of sucked, like, that Chase Petty had to get traded for Sonny Gray. Like, I would love to say, like, oh, they should have just traded them a hitter. But Cincinnati probably wouldn't want a hitter. So they wanted an arm probably, and Chase Petty was the guy. So whoever I'm willing to give up is probably not the guy who's they're going to get a bullpen arm for. So, all right. A lot of positive comments on the system recaps. Really appreciate the support on those. I really enjoy putting them together. But your positive comments also keep me going as well. I appreciate that. Seth mentions that Ronnie Henriquez is scheduled to start a game for the Saints this week. Awesome. Great to see. Again, he pitched 3 innings, looked good. He started the year staying down in Fort Myers for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Seth probably knows. Probably injury. Maybe he's just a little bit behind everybody else in terms of ramping up. But he's interesting. I'm actually was surprised too that he started out in AAA when he's only 21, I think, still, Ronnie Henriquez, if I'm remembering that correctly, and didn't really dominate AA. So you could see there was plenty of reason to send him to Wichita and just have him start there. Let's start simple, back in kind of an environment you're a little bit used to, at least new organization, not really like that. But I think that tells you what they kind of think of him. So, and he's on the 40-man roster. So it's like, it's kind of, clock's ticking on him potentially being a major league piece. So, all right. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out.